Hello, world, or should I say, hello, anyone? This is my channel, Proteus Augustus. My first video, my maiden video, was called Proteus Soliloquy number 2. As an artist, a scientist, and an American constitutionalist, I have a lot of different interests. So I was trying to think of what my next video would be. There's a lot going on in the world that I could talk about, but I thought it would be better to focus on my art right now. Now, seeing as how I did Proteus Soliloquy number 2, one might ask, well, what is Proteus Soliloquy number 1? So I figured I would read that for you rather than memorizing it, because it is complicated and it sounds so much better when I read it. I'm not an actor. I don't have the skills. And the first video was quite difficult memorizing that, and I really don't want to spend all kinds of time memorizing. Maybe in the future I'll get a little better at it, or maybe I'll get a prompter or something and people won't know I'm reading anything. But right now, I'm on my iMac and it is what it is. So, before I read that for you, I want to tell you where it comes from. After I graduated from the university, I had some time on my hands for reasons I could get into later in the future. But I did a lot of studying on my own throughout my entire life. That's what I do. My philosophy is, and what some of the nuns one specific nun used to tell me, is that if you learn something new every day, by the time you reach a year, you would acquire a lot of knowledge. And at this point in my life, I've probably forgot a lot that I used to know, but at least I know where to find it. I might not memorize it, I might not be able to recall it off the top of my head, but I'll know where to find it. So in pursuit of that knowledge, I decided, based on current events, to start writing about what was going on. I wasn't exactly sure, when I wrote, how to disseminate it, because it really doesn't do any good for me to write. I can write in my mind. If I don't share it with anybody, what good is it, So what I decided to do was put together a short essay on a 1/4-inch piece of paper, one-sided. The font was somewhat small, because I needed to get enough information on there to complete basically what I was saying. So that's what I did. I focused in on the Defense of Marriage Act, which was not really something that most people liked up in Massachusetts, being a liberal state. And so I thought I would give another side to that argument. Now, before I continue, just let me say, I'm not conservative, I'm not liberal, I'm not this or that. I'm just a free thinker. I look to find the truth in things, or my own truth, based on analysis and, the facts on the ground, and, if other people don't like that, so be it. But they have to come back with something else. It's not enough to insult me, which, believe me, I got enough of that way before what you're seeing today, okay, up in Massachusetts. Maybe sometime in the future, I'll get into all that other stuff that was whirling around in my life, okay? But, so I decided to speak out. So I put together an essay based on the Defense of Marriage Act. I made 100 copies of it on a 1/4-inch goldenrod piece of paper, and I went up to Beacon Hill in Boston during lunch when all the legislators are going in and out, and I passed them out, and they were gone in 5 minutes. No, most people that walked by, they just took it. I was surprised, because I walk by a lot of people, I don't take anything. But everyone went in about 5 minutes, none of them hit the ground. One guy decided to come back based on a little bit of reading that he saw, to tell me that he didn't like where it was going. The old story, I'm this and I'm that, and he cussed me out and whatever. And I'm like, okay, whatever, dude. Now, I'm not a small dude, so, it's not like, he's going to run all over me or anything. But, the thing is, I knew then at least I was getting something, from this guy. It doesn't matter, that's what art is all about, right? I mean, you have to be able to elicit a response from someone, whether it's good, bad, they agree, they disagree. That's what art's all about, okay? So I was encouraged. I'm like, okay, um, let's try this. Let's go forward with this project. And what I decided to do was come up with a leaflet that was called The Objective Observer, which would be a full two-sided sheet, bifolded, to give this. Okay? Now, of course, you have the front and the back, and then you have the inset. Everyone has a crossword puzzle. Okay, a little sketch. Some are good, some ain't so good. I got better as time went on because I put more time into it. The more time I put into something, usually a lot better it gets. Okay, and of course, down here is the table of contents, and I use symbolism so that people could open up the leaflet readily and continue the article rather than looking for a title or something and there wasn't a whole lot of space that I wanted to use, to take away from the essay itself. I mean, when you're crafting an article that has to fit on a small piece of paper like that, with all those words and the case law and this and that and whatnot, you have to really be crafty. It ain't that easy, okay? So, what I did is I then said, well, wait a minute. As I started doing this, I said, well, why don't I use this as a bigger outlet also for myself? Why don't I decide on a topic that I can bring the American Constitutionist in, the legal arguments based on case law and whatnot, do an oil painting, photography, sculpture, and, all with respect to one theme, to try to bring all the classical forms together, and maybe I could learn some music in the future and add it to that specific, issue. So what I did was, in order to tie all of these pieces of work together, is I came up with what's called a poetic abstract. These down here. Okay, so the painting, the photography, everything is based on this poetic abstract. Okay? The crossword puzzle pertains to all of the writing in here, and they're complicated. All right, and the reason why I put the crossword puzzle on there is because people at lunch, they look at it, they want to try to figure it out. Now, I gave them the answers, okay? Because it ain't, when you make a crossword puzzle, it's not like this isn't like a New York Times or something based on trivia. It's complicated. I crafted it. It wasn't easy, okay? But I figured people would look at that and they'd say, oh, well, I'll do a crossword. So when I was passing these out, I'd say, a couple articles, crossword puzzle. So that's where, when I got to number 5, Proteus Soliloquy number 1 is, okay? And without going too much more into detail about the art project at this time, I'm going to read this Proteus Soliloquy number 1 for you. And excuse me if I'm looking down, but this is called Proteus Soliloquy number 1, Death of My Spring. Her gentle breath did stroke my drum to serenade, whilst steam ornate to masticate her lobe did my spine invigorate. Pulling her back, my heat measured by focal lays, her comely look my passion took, she did my reason crook. Digits combed our fibers lax to limbic braid, When dangling arms, passing palms, we did our compliment charms. Phalanges tack, my steeper plies her fluted vase. She presses will, for wanting still, she did my arrows trill. Stunning brilliant Sid, my narcissistic vase. Not surprised, uncauterized, she did my fancy lionize. Metals fuse, our element natural brass. We further stoke our fiery toke, we did our chastity choke. Buds cleave rosy lips to taste libating lass. She proffers bribe, we circumscribe, she did my psychosexual imbibe. Vapors sweat, our ebullience from Sere Nast. Reliefs exposed, fluid reposed, my lust she recomposed. Ooh, what strings she knows to pull me taunt, are innately attuned with chordal flux. Oh, but binds to breast she knows not. Ah, she thinks me only flowers do, my pit a phallocentric crux. But I am heat, mist, and cool. To think that I, Proteus, a flyby, that I am an ant among shoes, I am concerned. That their souls press against my will, I am negotiable. That choice is revoked, I am slain. That is Proteus Soliloquy number 1, Death of My Spring. Until next time, think free and be free.